the Funko.
I'll keep going. I told you.
Hey, everybody.
Morning, everybody. Thanks
Good
for
morning.
joining us on the J Hood Creative channel, Jade Comics channel, which I don't even know. It's one or the other. It's
J
both the
Hood
same.
comic. Yeah, J Hood something or other.
Got my buddy Coach Vic and other buddy Al Shell here. We're gonna
Backward.
we're gonna break down our hatred for Jack Kirby in this episode.
What? I can't. No.
I thought we were talking about hatred for Kirby, that little video game character.
Oh yeah, that guy.
Oh, I'm not prepared.
This is egregious. This is just like crazy. The cheap clickbait everywhere.
Let's address our guests here. We've got Al Gore.
Al Gador.
Al Gore Vidal. Thanks for joining us, Gore. I hope that slip the tongue didn't offend you in any way. Magic Lasso. Do all of Jack Kirby's blonde characters have the same hair like Sue Storm's? Yes, pretty much. I mean, think about it. All the way through Captain Victory.
Even the black ones.
I know, right? I bought Funko Pops, plural. We'll talk about that. And we've got Captain Comics. How you doing, Captain? Thanks for joining us. So let's not bury the lead. Al, you have a visceral reaction to our thumbnail, and I knew you would.
Okay, so it's always funny that when we talk about doing a show, and I never see you never put up the billboard beforehand, and I'm just like I go to see. Well, I want to see where we're at here, and it's talking about Kirby sucking. It's like you suck, sir. You suck. So I'm flabbergasted.
Did you read the thumbnail, or did you read the word balloons in the thumbnail?
Sure, I tried to, but on someone's little screen when they're picking it, they're gonna see nothing. They're gonna see just ink,
Well, I tried to be cute with it. The origin story of this topic, this discussion, comes from actually our friends over at And This Is Why I Love Comics podcast, where our friends Andy and Mike were talking about the first few issues of Black Panther by Jack Kirby, and they're of the same generation as us. They grew up, finding an appreciation for comics in the 70s and the 80s, and they've grown up to become old crotchety old men like us. They only like the old stuff, and they're like digging into it, and even they said that it was somewhat impenetrable, which as I was listening along, I was thinking there's reasons for all this. They touched a little bit on his New Gods work, but kind of concentrated on his Black Panther run. But he also did, the comeback with Captain America at Marvel, after doing all the New Gods work and several other titles, startups at DC. So I figured we'll talk about both the work and kind of the history behind it and why things kind of got off the rails for him a little bit. But Al, based on that summation, what are your thoughts now?
I think it's still a clickbait thumbnail. And the
you
Kirby.
say it like a bad thing, by the way.
Huh?
You say it like a bad thing.
You're gonna listen. I used to watch a bunch of like wrestling live streams or whatever, and they would have, and they just went straight clickbaity, like, oh, why does AEW suck or what? I stopped watching, pal. So this is hypocritical for me to be on here. Like I would have put, why is Jack Kirby so great and you suck? Why am I backwards? Anyways, well, let me get first off. I have to admit, I never read the Black Panther Jack Kirby run.
Mm-hmm.
The Jungle Action Comics.
Well, Jungle Action, I think, came before the Black Panther series, if I'm right. I might be wrong on that, but
well, looking at the screenshots that I sent you, it was.
So he created Black Panther?
Yeah,
he was a co-creator of Black Panther. Let me pull that up here, Al. That what you just mentioned there. Al did find a really great resource if you want to follow the the work of Jack Kirby, there's this page out there called the Marvel Masterworks resource page, and they have a month-by-month publishing chronology of Jack Kirby's work. Let me see if I can get it bigger here.
No. Can't get it bigger.
You won't get it big enough.
That's big enough.
Okay.
But what they've done is they break down month by month what was turned out, but as far as Jack Kirby publications. So let's find like the sweet spot here. So if you look at this area in August through the end of 1970, which I was born in November 1970. So we've got him on Thor 179, Thor 180, I think was his last issue on Thor. I know
well, they were printing his stuff at Marvel well into his departure.
Yeah, long
because the dude had a backlog. It was just like drawn. There's one thing you're gonna learn here is that Kirby, like, he had so much work. He was just like, hey, I just drew 80 books. Let me draw 12 more.
Right, exactly.
So Kirby didn't do any of the stories. He just did all the artwork,
Okay.
or he did both.
Okay, so let's look at it from that standpoint. From the beginning of Marvel Comics, what we know is Marvel Comics.
Mm-hmm.
So when Stan and Jack launched Fantastic Four, that's kind of considered the launch of Marvel Comics. As Spider-Man followed soon after that. Their storytelling style, the way they created their stories, evolved a bit, and it's a little bit unknown, as debatable as to like who put more story into the comic than the other. So the way it kind of started out was they'd talk, come up with some ideas. Jack would go and draw up the story and send it back to Stan, and Stan would actually fill in what the words were in the panels and that kind of stuff.
Okay.
And that evolved even more in the Marvel style of comic book creation, where those conversations eventually became shorter and shorter. So Stan had maybe less upfront kind of overall story of what would happen in a given issue, and Jack would be left to come up with kind of the bulk of the story, send it back to Stan just to put words in their mouths. Like I said, this is all debatable.
But here's another thing. We've seen full penciled pages where he wrote in all the dialogue.
Right.
So did he write it in to get to where the word balloon's going to be when he's drawing and he's reading off of Lee's script? Or did he write in what they were saying and then Lee went, I'm going to put 5 to 10 cent words in here to make this better?
Right.
Because the stuff I've seen that were just his pencils, if he's writing the dialogue and, whatever, I'm sure I'm not going to go there.
I have a question. I mean, because I kind of backed into a Marvel story yesterday.
Mm-hmm.
So was you talk about the Marvel style. So was Jack Kirby part of that whole stealing of work too? With Stan Lee? Well, not giving people credit for it, because from what I read, they created such a machine of the Marvel style that nobody really got credit for it, and Stan Lee ended up getting credit for everything.
That's the big accusation of Stan Lee, and it
I was reading excerpts from this book by Josephine Abraham something or other.
Okay.
No, Abraham Josephine something or other.
Okay, we're here for 70s Kirby, right?
Yeah.
So
it has a
this is the 70s, and I'm assuming that's all.
So Stan is blamed for stealing all the credit.
But Kirby wasn't part of that. I mean, it seemed like
Kirby
Kirby
was the one that would have been accused of being stolen from.
Okay.
Not given the proper credit for the amount of input he had into the stories.
Okay. Well, that's all I wanted to know, because it's not like he's part of that time. he's part of that time, and I was just curious. So, I mean, was he part of the people being accused of taking credit? But apparently, he was not getting his due credit.
Just to speak on, to kind of put a bow on this part of the conversation, Stan was like the front man, the carnival barker, the representative of the whole company, and editor of everything. So
Okay.
he was the one going out and really, at certain points, he would like toot his own horn, and other points he would share the credit or try and spread the credit to kind of smooth things over. But even when he tried, he didn't do it very well, and it still made people mad. So
Okay.
let's get caught up on just some of the comments here. Gore Vidal said Kirby's 70s comics I find deeply engaging with from the Fourth World, his beautiful 2001 Space Odyssey adaptation, the series Black Panther series, Captain America, Mandy, and ending with Captain Victory. Yeah, that's a good summation of the high points for sure. Yeah, massive output.
Massive output.
So going back to what we were starting to show here. So this website shows everything. And to Al's point, once Kirby kind of makes the solid leap from Marvel to DC, we find that he's doing 2 to 3 issues of artwork per issue, starting with Forever People, Jimmy Olsen, Mr. Miracle, and the New Gods.
Yeah. Starts off. He's also got.
Go ahead.
He's also got like random books in there, like Spirit World, which is crazy. I just looked that up. He does Spirit World for DC, and it's kind of a mystic, supernatural comic book. It's kind of like Alfred Hitchcock presents Twilight Zone type stories,
right?
But they got some pretty like S&M type stuff going on. This is like him going, hey, remember EC Comics? I used to do some stuff like that, like Black Magic and stuff,
One of the okay, so when let's talk about when Kirby made the leap from Marvel to DC, he was basically promised the world. Julius Schwartz was the main editor that he was talking to that brought him over to DC, and up to that point, Marvel and DC kind of really operated under different editorial styles. Whereas at Marvel, things were told Marvel style. There was a lot of input from artists into the stories because they were doing things the Marvel way. On the DC side, the editors really drove like what was going to be in each issue. Each editor had tight control over the lineup of the books that they covered individually. And so when
so it went from basically a team to one person running or really dictating the direction of the story.
It was much more of like a dictatorship was a good analogy.
Well, it's kind of like a showrunner.
Yeah.
Okay.
And one of the things that Jack was promised when he came over was that he wasn't going to have an editor, and he was going to run his own show. And part of what comes with that is, okay, can he actually write, a full story on his own without help with somebody kind of polishing up the dialogue? And also, everybody else in the editorial department took offense that they're bringing the guy from the competitor that we've been battling against for years, and they're giving him a nice cushy sweet spot over here, and all the compadres in the DC editorial were not on board with that.
For the sports people that aren't watching, it's like when Kevin Durant joined the Golden State Warriors after they set a record for most wins in the regular season.
It's exactly like that, I'm sure.
They ain't need him, but they got him, and they won a championship. So, and I'm assuming like the new guys, and that were the championship, right? Because you guys talked about how much you like that stuff.
Well, it was imaginative and groundbreaking and pure Kirby, and part of what his vision for the lineup was, like, he did the 4 titles to launch, but what he intended to do was have other people help him do these. Like I think he wanted. I know Jim Steranko he based Mr. Miracle on him, but I can't remember if it was Steranko or maybe Steve Ditko that he actually wanted to bring in to work on that book and kind of take it over and do it. And I can't remember. I think it was that, like, once he got there, he was like promised that he would be able to do that, but then it was editorial, like his boss's reaction was, well, we need to sell you for a while before we kind of spin off to everybody else. And so he ended up doing all the work himself.
So he was kind of ended up doing to others what got done to him. Because I mean, if they're selling Jack Kirby, whether depend not, let's see, with a very amount of work actually done on the book, and you know, the other people are getting credit for it because they're trying to build them up so then they can say, look who else does great work. Mm-hmm. Or am I just making a stretch out of nothing?
I think that's a bit of a stretch. Jack Kirby really respected the other quality artists in the business, and also one of the reasons, the story behind why he took over Jimmy Olsen. Some people thought, okay, well, maybe he came to DC and like to prove the point that he's the best, he took over their worst-selling title, which was what it might have been, Superman's pal Jimmy Olsen. But the fact of the matter was that when he made the leap, he didn't want to kick Kurt Swan out of the Superman book. He didn't want to remove whoever was working on Batman out of the Batman book. He came from a generation of respecting other people and the work that they do, and the fact they got to bring money home. They're making a living too, and he didn't want to put anybody else out on the street.
Man, that's amazing. Because I was just going to ask you. I mean, because we got New Gods, Forever People, and what's the other one they did? Mr. Miracle.
Yeah.
Oh, give me some. Mm-hmm. And I was just gonna say, what made him do Superman's pal? Superman. How do you say that?
Superman's pal, Jimmy Olsen.
Thank you, Superman's pal, Jimmy Olsen. But you answered that because I just like it doesn't fit. I mean, we got all these new worlds.
Well, actually, Vic, he used Jimmy Olsen's comic book to launch the Fourth World.
Oh, Jimmy Olsen.
Big chunk of that. Yeah, big chunk of his run on that was introducing Darkseid.
No, there was a title.
Oh yeah, Superman's
pal, Jimmy Olsen.
Yeah.
And he came on like issue 135 or something like that. I think that is.
Okay.
133. So it'd been running for a long time, and so they're like, yeah, you can do this book.
Oh, okay. And then he used that to introduce the New Gods and Forever People. Okay. Mm-hmm. All right. Well, that makes sense because you just can't say, here's something new, read it.
Yep. So Al, you've probably read the most of the New Gods work of all of us. I've read, I think, the New Gods title, and just a few select issues of Mr. Miracle. Have you read through like the whole thing, the whole work?
Well, the chapter that they put out. This one here, they put this out.
Okay.
I had the hard cover too, and that was where they spliced all the books together, so you read it.
We read it in order.
Yeah. What I like about these books it is very much a shared universe. Mm-hmm. His New God stuff is Fourth World. Even OMAC and Command D are shared universe. Mm-hmm. So again, ahead of his time there. But I think you got to go back and look at like what he was ingesting, what he was eating, what he's always, I'm sure, loved mythology. And if you go and he was coming off his run from Thor and Silver Surfer and Fantastic Four and stuff. So he's hey, I'm gonna continue this. And I'm sure if he would have stayed on Thor, you would have seen like Orion or in a different name, maybe, Darkseid. You probably would have seen them there. It would have been, I think he probably had these characters maybe for a while. And he was like, all right, well, I'll just retool this guy. But one thing that if you want to put like almost today's stuff, I'm wondering, because back then it was Vietnam, right? Mm-hmm. So I don't know, when someone comes back from a war, this is what I get from the New Gods. Okay. Mm-hmm. The first of it, Orion's coming back from just a war, basically. He's out there battling. So when I'm looking back on it, I'm seeing this. I'm like, dude, this is he's Rambo, like from First Blood. He's coming back, and he's just like, hey, I just want to, I'm here, and then you guys are gonna, bust my chops, type of thing. And that stuck with me because of like the way they write him now. He's just blood hungry. Well, now he's a king, or he's not a king, or whatever. continue. After Kirby, I kind of was like, nope, because it's like you're asking someone to finish, excuse the Bible when it's like it's the people that it's seen it or whatever.
Mm-hmm.
You know, it's just like, hey, was add on to this? You can't do that type of thing with like new guys, because I like Jerry Conway tried, Jim Starlin tried, even John Byrne and Walter Simonson. They've all tried. They've done some good stuff. Not right afterwards, but
right. Decades later.
Yeah, decades later, but when they had time to understand it. That's one thing I will say about his 70s work, even his 60s, ahead of its time. It's like you're like, you don't know what you got until it's gone, baby. So like if you look at post-crisis DC, they were like, oh, wait a minute, we got Kirby gave us gold, manna from heaven, manna from Kirby. All these ideas. You had the Cadmus projects. You had all those things that they, especially Superman. You could tell that Byrne and Ordway and Jurgens and all those guys were huge Kirbyites.
So Kirby created the Cadmus project too?
Yeah.
Man.
Yeah.
So he pretty much
I'm telling you, that's Jimmy Olsen. That's where that came from. The Jimmy Olsen, the Cadmus projects. You got to check these out. They're crazy.
So then we get
Cadmus project. They bring back the Guardian
again. Decades later.
Decades later.
Dude, if you go and read the old books, read the Old Testament, basically, okay? You gotta go read it. I know it's a slog. It's like, oh my God, what's he having Joe do here? You know, oh my goodness, type of thing. But then you go and everything. It's like it's connected. It's all connected. They pilfered what they wanted. They dismantled what they didn't understand. But that's what we always do with everything. We're like, well, to make it fit in today, we're going to make Mr. Miracle not as fun. We're just gonna make him like have daddy issues and you know all this other stuff, which it's fine. Right. But the funness of those characters and their archetypes is what he did best. I think he and he also did the Star Trek, you know, where he didn't beat you over the head with it. He didn't go, oh well, racism's bad or this is bad or we should have equal stuff. He was like, here, look at this, and then you'll digest it quicker and better. I just think it's that era of storytellers could do it, but now the people that think that they're new, you know, that they have an original idea are going, hey, you guys never seen this before, and I got this idea. When it's already been done a billion times because everything's been done under the sun. But, you know, so it's like M. Night Shyamalan. It's like all his ideas were probably a old Twilight Zone, Alfred Hitchcock Presents or an Outer Limits. They could have fit in there, but they had to stretch it out. It's just, you know, whatever. Hey, how you doing?
Before
what are we looking at?
Before we get into like why didn't the Fourth World work? I just want to take a note here that you mentioned the Spirit World earlier, and he did land those like right towards, I guess it was towards the beginning of his runs, because Mr. Miracle was only on issue 4, but he did a special magazine, or two of them, Spirit World and In the Days of the Mob.
There we go.
Which were both magazine publications, so he was able to do more adult stuff in them, and that was also part of his deal coming over to DC, was the ability to kind of do things that kind of opened up the medium to a wider range of storytelling and formats and things like that. And if I remember right, those are in black and white as well.
I mean, I'm looking at all the stuff that he's been putting out. Was he getting paid per page or what?
I don't know.
Everybody is.
I mean, he definitely was at Marvel.
I mean, because like he's putting out stuff after stuff after stuff.
Well, they're also counting like the cover the cover, and then how many pages, and then the backups, right? And the pinups. They had the pinups in there.
Yep.
So like if you look at like October 1971, he did Forever People. It says cover, and then he did the Sunny Sumo 22. You know, that's the chapter, and then the next, it's still in. This is still in Forever People number 5. So, and then he did like a 4-page mini. You know, so I'm sure he's getting paid per page. He has to. That's his page rate. And but this dude is popping out stuff, right?
That's what I'm saying.
His pace is like he's alternating, doing 2 issues a month versus 3 issues a month, and he does that through his whole early Forever Fun run.
I started to say, I guarantee he had no kids, but that was back in the 70s. That was a different time.
He had kids.
Oh, he had kids.
Yeah.
He actually moved out to California during this time. It was supposed to help benefit his wife's health, I guess, was the main.
And he was doing cartoon work.
Jeez.
I don't know if that was happening at this time, in this time frame, or later though. He could have been dabbling in both, but he was definitely busy doing comic work for sure.
I swear he was helping with the Fantastic Four cartoon. I know that.
That's
the
true.
78 Fantastic Four cartoon.
So the reason why
cartoon that sucked.
the biggest, there are a few things contributing factors as to why the Fourth World wasn't successful. And a lot of people looking back up until now thought, well, it was just hard to read, hard to understand. Well, from what I've heard is that the fans actually liked it. It was getting into probably a more mature, like college age range where they might have been, experimenting with other things, and they kind of actually understood what was going on in it. But there was also this
miles are free.
This ongoing battle between Marvel and DC, and a bit of one-upsmanship going both ways. And this was in a time when the production costs on comics were going up, and they had to raise cover prices. And this was a big deal because it was a matter of doing the math. Like if you increase, for us, increasing a comic from 25 cents to 30 cents, no big deal. But back then, that was the difference between buying 4 comic books a month and 3 comic books a month. So,
Kirby.
Yeah.
Well, here's the thing, though. Those New God books were thick.
Yeah, they bumped them up.
New God's books. If you got them, they're thick books. They're not like joke. They're not joke compared to today, where everything's real thin.
50 or
but that's just because
they bumped them from 15 cents to 25 cents for the early New Gods books, and put additional stories in the back, older like Sandman stories from the Golden Age that Kirby had done, things like that, to kind of fill out the page count. And
all I know is I've always heard that it was mainly because of it didn't. It has with Carmen Infantino, who was the editor-in-chief at the time, and they actually did better than the numbers they were letting on.
Mm-hmm.
And you got to think it's almost indie work for a established company, because you're bringing in your stuff. You're bringing in like, hell, you guys know, DC didn't really have, besides Green Lantern, who was probably at the time a hard traveling hero. He probably wasn't in space that much.
No,
who knows?
You're exactly right. It was the same time frame.
So they're going grounded, except for maybe Superman, who was fighting, the Green Martians.
Yeah.
He did. Superman never really had some great villains, but so bringing in this space opera that is Kirby, his Marvel flavor. I think it was more, I don't understand this, so we're not going to push it as much.
Well,
again, like I said, you don't know what you got until it's gone.
Right. So here's more of what's going on in the background. Like the Marvel DC battle is that they had both agreed on raising the cover prices, and I can't remember if it was
like a summit. That seems like a little bit of collusion.
How does this say that Kirby's hard to read? You do this frickin' clickbait thing, and I say Kirby sucks. And then we get here, and all you want to talk about is what DC and Marvel agreed to do price for it, and this is why it didn't sell.
Because there came a point where DC said, "Look, we're going to stop doing Jimmy Olsen, New Gods, and Forever People," right? So if he had been able to continue with those, would we gotten to a point where we really did understand what the bigger picture was, and it all kind of gelled and culminated in something bigger?
Well, Jimmy Olsen's fine. I'm glad that he didn't need that anymore once he got New Gods. Forever People's pretty bad. It's not his best stuff, but it has. It was more. I think it was more to do with. I don't know. He might have been in his 50s, right? And he's writing hippie stuff. It's kind of like peace, love, and Unimind stuff. So I get that. That's kind of. It's not when I read, go back and go, oh, check this out. It's not his. Most inspired.
He was always opposed to, essentially what it was is he had PTSD from working at Marvel, where Stan would hijack his characters, hijack his stories. He was tired of being told kind of what to do. He thought his ideas were better. And then when he was totally unfettered and was given the space to go do exactly what you want to do, and he wasn't, told, look, you can write out your whole story. Let's have writer X come in and just put a polish on it. He's not going to change the point. He's going to keep your key dialogue you want in there, and then he's also going to help you think through the story, because I think one of the things that Jack did was, he was doing so much. I don't know that he remembered what he did and what he wrote or drew in the last issue of Forever People by the time he got around to drawing the next issue of Forever People.
Well, I was going to say, it seems like he was his own worst enemy. If he had just one person, I don't know, he wouldn't accept the editor, it sounds like, but like a co-editor or sub-editor, somebody that can edit that he can go behind them and finish it.
Yeah,
it just needs somebody.
I think it's more if he had a guy that, a continuity person.
Right.
That was like, oh no, that suit isn't. That's your Jimmy Olsen's like one of the most obvious of that. The new Guardian, the Golden Guardian. It's the old Guardian comes back and he's named the Golden Guardian, and it's very woo, and he's got a certain helmet on, and then in the next issue, it's been scrubbed. It's the same old helmet. Well, it's more like a short Dr. Fate helmet. You know how Dr. Fate had the thing here.
I know what that is.
He's back to being called the Guardian. And it's like, was that I forgot it, or screw this helmet? It's a pain in the butt. Because even when he draws it, it doesn't look the greatest in the first place.
I ain't got time to be drawing these helmets.
Yeah. I ain't going to mess with this. Nobody asked for this. But yeah, I can't. It'll be backwards, but I'll try to show it to you. But it's cool though. It's still a cool thing because he's introducing clones, and I'm sure that's been in comic books before that. He has his go-tos. He's a good booker. You bring your buddies with you when you want to. Hey, I want to tell some good stories. We'll get some good wrestling matches out there. You're gonna bring the people that you're used to, and then you're gonna add on to. And that's why I love if I could talk to anybody, it'd be Kirby. I'd be like, what were you eating at this time? What were you digesting? What were your favorite books? What were your TV shows? Because I think with the New Gods, I don't know, you guys, I said this before. I know he likes mythology and everything, but I think Dark Shadows was an inspiration for him too. I think he might have been watching Dark Shadows at the time, or after. That's because Dark Shadows ended in 70 and 71. But there's so much Barnabas Collins all over this. Just and I'm sure, like I said, I'm sure Vietnam was in there. I'm sure. Because he's a World War II guy,
Yep.
And then Godzilla. Let's see. Jaws was a book before it came out in the theaters, so he probably was reading this, and that's why there's always some type of fish or giant whale. Moby Dick. I'm sure he loved Moby Dick.
So as we look at him shifting away from the New Gods, he was basically still in a contract. He still had to put out a certain number of books a month. And so they're like, look, this New Gods thing is not working out, except for Mr. Miracle. Go ahead and continue with Mr. Miracle, but don't reference all the mythology stuff, all the the backstory. Don't bring in crossover characters. And so part of that was we jump back over to our little list of issues here.
There we go.
So he shifts over and starts doing the
back it up a little bit.
Yeah.
Demon, and then he busts out Command D in October.
Right. So
Demon. Demon. I'm telling you, some of the stuff in the Demon, man.
So to speak to your point about what was he consuming, guarantee he saw Planet of the Apes.
Oh yeah, that's Command D right out the bat. Demon. I mean, late '60s, early '70s. You got Rosemary's Baby. You got Exorcist. You got so many. You got the movie Gargoyles, which is crazy, right?
Mm-hmm. And
there's so much stuff, and he's always done like supernatural stuff, like black magic and stuff in his earlier years. So he's an EC. He likes that stuff,
Mm-hmm.
It's probably, I would say my grandpa loved UFOs and stuff like that. So like, it's got to be type of the same thing. The Demon, man, I'm telling you, the stuff he was doing in the Demon, just the artwork alone and the shots he would come up with, just
hold on, let me make you big.
Make me big. It's probably backwards for you, but
there we go.
I mean, look at the crazy shots. He just pops them out.
I got a great copy of that issue too because I love that cover.
It's great. I'm trying not to. I want to find the one that I really love. He just does the spread shots. The
double page spreads. He always had a double page spread in every issue.
Let's see if I I can't find it. That sucks. But just the angles he does, it's kind of like it's not boring. Like most stuff you see nowadays is kind of got a boring. Sorry, it took too long to find a picture of him.
All right.
And double pager there, just normal people. But
I mean, what we see here is like, he's actually going back to doing, some issues. Yeah, some months he's doing 2 issues, some months he's doing 3. But it seems like for a while there, he had a run where he's only having to do 2 issues a month. So
this is what I wanted. This is what I was looking for.
All right, here we go.
The shot of the weirdest stuff. Look at that guy with a big head. He has to keep his head up. There's a bunch of freaks around him. Just weird, man. I love it. I think that's also another thing. This is also because I'm sure monsters were huge. Monsters have always been huge. But you got to think about when they got the Universal monsters on TV. Kids love the monster movies. He's probably Hulk and all those dudes, the Thing and all that come from that. Yep. So it's crazy. Just to think if he was doing if Demon could have probably been a fourth world guy,
Mm-hmm.
And another thing, he's continuing to do the split personality. He likes the Dr. Jekyll and Mr. Hyde. Because if you look at Orion, he's definitely I'm trying to keep Dr. Hyde down, because if he comes out, I'm gonna eat everybody's brain, The Demon's another guy. He's like, oh, I'm Jason Blood, but then I'm gonna I say a thing and it comes out. I don't know. It's pretty cool to me.
So he like I said, New Gods comes to an end. He does a nice long run on Commandy. Does excellent work on the Demon. At this point, I think he's getting a little bit bogged down in this Disney or this DC deal is not working out to what I had hoped. And so eventually he moves on. He does OMAC and does a relaunch on Sandman, some fill-in issues here and there.
How long was he at Marvel before he went to DC?
He started at Marvel before Fantastic Four. I mean, he freelancing for him
Wow.
all the time. So he's probably let's say 10 years.
So like the 60s.
Yeah.
Here we pop up Gore. Gore here has a saying, I think history and his personal experience growing up in the Great Depression, fighting World War II, seeing the dangerous implications of nuclear weapons, and being an American and Jewish likely had more of an influence on his creative output. Yeah, I'm not saying it didn't, but I'm just saying at this time, it's kind of like, especially with Commandy, because it's basically a anti-war, stop fighting each other book, because it's like, hey, it's after. Look what you basically the end of Planet of the Apes. You've blown it up. Look what you've done. You damn you all to hell. So
I don't know like he'd have kids that old.
But yeah, he did.
He did have kids that old enough to go in the military there in the 70s.
Yeah, I looked here at the births of his kids. I mean, they were born in the 60s. Unless I'm reading this wrong, 48, 63, 48, 60, 52.
But yeah, Gore, I agree with you.
Neil,
I wasn't trying to downplay his life experiences, but I mean, even us, when we were built, our experiences build us as people and our imagination, and the people around us also do that with us. You give us our family gives us our sense of humor almost, but
right.
We also ingest, pop culture and put it, or whatever books we read, and we put it out in a different way. We kind of ingest it, digest it, and then we poop it out, type of thing. So
okay, so he's wrapping up his time at DC, and he goes back to his pal at Stanley, or at Marvel with Stanley. At this point, things aren't like they're on speaking terms, but things aren't what they used to be.
Well, I think it's like when friends fight. They were friends. They were still were friends.
Well, I mean,
you haven't fallen out with friends.
They're both middle aged. Kirby still he always worked. The reason he did so much is because he wanted to be sure he was supporting his family, and so he is like, and he's like, comic books are my career. So the only other place to go back and go to find make a living is maybe go back to Marvel. So he kind of gets the same deal at Marvel as he got at DC, which was essentially he was his own editor again, was his own writer. And I think they just kind of brought him in and said, okay, his name is going to sell comics.
Right.
We'll just let him do what he wants to do. And so they brought him in, and he always wanted to do something bigger and better outside of the standard floppy comic book. So he kind of launches with a Treasury edition.
Mm-hmm.
At least according to this. This might have been
before we go to back to Marvel. I know I want to talk about his first issue specials that he did.
Yep.
He did the one that I really love that I think that DC squandered was the Manhunter.
Okay.
The issue with the Manhunter. It set up something so awesome that they could have used for years, but instead they made him the bad guy. It was the Manhunter for Green Lantern and all that stuff. They connected all that.
Mm-hmm.
But I think they could have done so much more with that. And I think it's obviously one of those like, hey, I'm just gonna put this here. It's like he didn't have time for. I mean, I could have seen an ongoing of Manhunter, but he was like a bastard child almost. He was like, here you go. Here's him, and he did a couple of those. He did the Atlas one, which I never really picked up, but yeah, I just wanted to shout out to the Manhunter episode.
What about that first issue special number 6, with the dingbats of Danger Street?
Yeah, I can't comment.
Do you have that?
No, I don't have that.
I can't comment. No comment on that because I never picked it up. So I'm just saying, Manhunter. That should have got more credit. I mean, I would have. It's untapped. It was untapped, but then DC got it and went, "Oh, I'm gonna. Hey, this is nice. This nice idea. I'm gonna just take a big dunk on it." As they did with most of the. I don't know. I got the newer, the Return of the New Gods.
Mm-hmm.
It was a first issue special too, but they continued on when they put Orion in a superhero suit. And I was just like, what is this? You know.
Mm-hmm.
And they started making him like just an angry child in those. If you read the New Gods from Kirby, he's more like I don't want to do this, but I'm going to do it. You know, like don't make me angry. You wouldn't like me when I'm angry. You know. Anyways, go ahead with Marvel. Yeah. He's doing the Treasury editions.
Yeah, well, it noted one, but I think that might have been a reprint, one that was the earliest one on. But I think it's interesting that he was a couple issues in on Captain America, and they were still publishing work from Commandy and Cobra that he still had in the can back at DC.
And just to tell you, I'm still grabbing up Commandies. And if I find Omax, I'm going to grab them. I recently went to a comic book shop in Kalamazoo that must have been hit hard by Christmas because I went there and it's like all they got now is just like today's books that no one wants. And all the stuff that I was interested in, I might have to go to a comic convention. I might have to start going to comic conventions to get my comics. So, because the local comic book shop, Buy Me Toys, they have a bunch of stuff, but they got so much stuff, it's hard for them to showcase it. Or I can go, hey, I want that. So,
right. So he goes back to Marvel in 1976. And looks like, some of the first things, he starts back on Captain America as a monthly. And he's also, like we talked about, he got into doing the Treasury edition. So he did Captain America's Bicentennial Battles and an adaptation of 2001: A Space Odyssey.
Which I need to get that. I need to.
I got it. It's actually, it's oddly a faithful adaptation of the movie, and also makes the movie kind of easier to understand because it gives you like the.
I just seen some artwork from it, and I was like, wow, that's some.
And he did another TV show too.
Which was
The Prisoner.
He did. I don't know that The Prisoner was ever published.
I mean, it made the page. Look, I'm trying to act like I know something here.
You're reading Wikipedia as we go, aren't you? But so he digs into Captain America. He does Eternals, Black Panther, and all of them kind of suffer from the same thing that we saw in his New Gods work, where it was just Kirby being, you want to go to the water faucet to get a drink, and he turns on the fire hose, and it's just too much for people to fathom.
That's small minds.
Yeah, it's. I mean, we're not debating the artwork in any of these.
Okay.
Because I think his 70s era artwork becomes, he finds an inker that he likes, and the inker likes to trace over the lines that Kirby puts down in pencil.
Okay.
So there's a really great relationship going there.
Here's the thing. Ask Vic. Vic don't care about the stories. He don't like the art. I don't think you did. I think you said that before, that you weren't a big, you don't really care about the Kirby artwork. I don't think you did. I think you asked me once.
I like stories, so I have a tendency to overlook the art sometimes, which I've.
That's what I mean. The artwork is.
To.
Well, here's the thing, and maybe Al's going to follow up with this. The secret is, up until us being adults, we didn't like the art either.
Right. Right. It's one of those things. When I was younger, my first shots of Kirby were superpowers. I was getting superpowers. I was like, what is this? Like, what? I didn't get it. And until my teenage years, I didn't. To me, it's just pure art. Like, you could put that on the wall. He's an artist. He's a master. He is like, Picasso and all those guys.
Yep.
It's so, because it is different, and he's big. They're big toys. They're big, like action figures. G.I. Joe. It is that.
And you can't say that like one panel of Kirby is going to be the same as the next panel of Kirby, because if it's just talking heads in a panel, it's going to be pretty boring. Doesn't matter who draws it. But when he goes to draw like his big technical marvels and stuff like that, those big double page spreads, you're not going to find more creativity in something like that from anybody else. I don't know if I'm.
And again, like, the ideas, I know you said it's a water hose. The ideas he is putting out in it, Vic. Listen.
Is that why when I look at those couple stories I mentioned earlier, y'all said those are one shots, but it's like, it seems like it should be like 6-7 issues. It just came all into one book. Is that what you're talking about? Yeah,
there's a lot of that, like Spirit World, first issue specials. I mean, there you go. It's just fun. His machines are always crazy,
Birth bag.
The birth bag.
Is that Ben Boxer that he's giving birth to, or what?
I don't
know. What I like about these, I'm really finding enjoyment out of the Commandy books, which I just picked up the chapter 2, which I didn't know was out. It's the only one so far of the Jack Kirby new things that got a second book. I think Commandy was the most popular out of all of them. So, and you also get some good Joe Kubert covers on some of these Commandy issues, because he stopped doing the covers, and
there it is.
It was cool. I'm telling you, you guys got a Sue Storm here
right there.
Yeah, I mean, hey,
isn't that a guy?
It is. It's Commandy.
Okay. Yeah, it is. I mean, well, you got what's his name, Icarus from the Eternals, but I'm here to defend that. It's not hard to read, unless you got ADHD. If you can read a regular book, without pictures, then you shouldn't have a hard time with some of the fake Shakespeare and some of his. And the characters are very simple. They're that's the bad guy. Oh, this is the good guy. We know why he's here, what he's doing. And again, like I said, he throws in so many ideas in one issue, especially the Command-E books. Okay, so the Command-E books, he probably gives 2 issues for a storyline, maybe 1, and then the next one, there's a cliffhanger, and then it goes right into the next stuff, man. And just like, that's cool, ain't it? Okay, check this out. Everybody's dead. Everybody's on fire. Oh, you like this character? He's going to explode. It's just, there's so many cool things. Like, and he loves his mutant stuff. He loves taking stuff and like, that's cool, but let's make it a space god. Let's make this. Like, he turned. There's like a supernatural issue in Command-E where like people are getting possessed and they're like, I'm gonna get you and stuff, but it ends up where it's a guy with ESP that's controlling him to do that. So it's like Star Trek, some Star Trek kind of thing. But like I said, they would be like, oh yeah, here's a ghost, but no, it's not ghost. It's Captain Kirk stuck between the, phased out.
I got a small little thing, based on my extensive research.
Mm-hmm.
So every time he leaves Stan Lee, he comes back. Is that how it works? Because
kinda.
I just read that he's getting ready to leave him again because he wants to do TV now, because that's where the real money is, TV.
That's where he ended his career.
And you said that he did so he came back to the Fantastic Four?
Not the comic book. The
I
cartoon.
mean,
I did the cartoon. He helped with the
you said he did
cartoon.
one earlier that was really bad. But then I read that after he left the second time.
He other than Captain America. Well, he didn't. Yeah, he did draw Captain America. Captain America was the character that he touched.
I'm talking about the cartoon though. So the animation, because say he worked on the Fantastic Four, which
that's a different. He's working for Hanna-Barbera then.
Yeah,
he's not working for Stan Lee at that time. When he got booted, when he left,
but it says
when
that
he left the second time,
Stan Lee and Hanna-Barbera to work on the Fantastic Four. And I was just like, gee, she can't get rid of that guy. Or am I just wrong? Just like me watching TV again.
Let's
okay, so this is what happens. Okay, Stan Lee, they sell Stan Lee, they sell it Marvel, and they don't include. They like, oh, we want Stan Lee, and then like they're like, oh, you don't want Jack because they thought Jack was just an artist. Okay, this is from the King of Comics book that I have at home. It's right here.
I want to address Magic Lasso's comment right here. If you're a speculator, as far as like what's going to appear in upcoming movies, you'll want to get the first appearance of this character. I mean,
the Love Bug,
Herbie.
Herbie doesn't have an appearance. His first appearance is a cartoon.
In the comics, he appears in the comics.
Yeah. Was it an annual?
He's a little robot they substituted in for the Human Torch, which people think, well, they didn't want to show the Human Torch because he's going to encourage kids to light themselves on fire, which was not actually the case. The real story was that they had Human Torch licensed to his own TV show, so they couldn't include him in the Fantastic Four cartoon.
Which was fine because the Thing was the one that ended up happening.
Kids weren't setting themselves on fire, though. I mean, kids eat Tide Pods.
These were 70s kids. They're different from today's kids.
Okay. Yeah, today's kids would be on TikTok for sure, lighting themselves on fire.
He was hard.
All right, we got anything left to talk about as far as?
No, I mean, I just got to defend that clickbait.
Oh, he did.
Frickin'
is that what you're telling me?
Thumbnail is horrible.
No, he didn't suck.
Anybody that I apologize. Anybody that came in here to hear how much it sucked because I don't know. You're driving me crazy with this clickbait.
Well, thank you for the apology.
What?
Thank you for the apology.
I think I'm the one supposed to be apologizing for our clickbaity thumbnail, and I'm as guilty as anyone. But Kirby was like Al said, he was a genius, way ahead of his time. The criticism comes from the fact that he wanted so much control that he couldn't ask for help. And I think if he had just a smidgen of help along the way, this wouldn't even be a discussion.
That's somebody that could edit that he can go back behind the editor.
I don't know. I think you haven't really read it as much. So I think you need to go and enjoy it. You're gonna miss your mom's cooking. When you're gonna go, listen, you're gonna go to McDonald's and be like, well, this is like what my mom made. That's what Kirby is. He's home cooked meal instead of this fast food Walmart stuff that they're giving you today. Kirby had ideas. Kirby was ideas. You were eating the raw idea in the frickin' the book. You can't handle it. That's you. Like Chris Evans has said, yeah. There you go.
Yep. Hey, Biggie.
This is so you can't handle the truth.
Biggie. I'm here.
Coach Vic left out.
So what do I pitched an idea a while ago, but I think we're doing kind of the offshoot of the idea. But what are we doing?
Well, I mean, I'm not going to say all ideas are evolutions because I pretty much laid out. Look, we're going to talk about Kirby in the 70s, and we did it. But sometimes we talk about, hey, what could we do in upcoming shows? And so one of the things that we've been thinking about is two things. One is continue to do the Saturday morning, afternoon show as we can, but also maybe do a show in the evening sometime in prime time. So maybe we'll try and get that scheduled too. But one thing we want to do is go back and, in Alan, my case, reread some stuff and have Victor read some stuff for the first time. Oh man, you got it.
It's working.
He's a demon, baby. Look at this.
Oh.
These are all. I didn't get good copies.
What you have?
No, that's number 2.
Oh.
I need to get a copy.
You need number 2?
Yep. But the idea being that each of us has stories that we want to go back and read or reread. And so each of us have pitched in 4. Hold on.
I just like that.
Yeah.
It's like no reason having big heads, like set up a scene shot, setting it up, letting you know where he's at.
How often in today's comics do you get foreground, middle ground, and background like that?
That's some straight up Disney.
But here's what we got.
Make your eyes. Go ahead.
We have entered our choices. Each of us picked 4 choices and put them on a wheel.
I purposely didn't put Batman Year One because I feel like y'all are tired of me talking about it.
Well, in the fact you've already read it, it's not that we can't
So
consider
it's on there. Our stuff is on there twice.
Yeah, I don't know why, but that's the way it's set up.
Better chance to do it, baby.
Okay.
This is great. Listen,
You want to do it just one?
Ronan. I hope I win.
So Al's picks were Crisis on Infinite Earths, Captain America. No.
Oh yeah. So the idea is that we each brought a storyline, 4 storylines that we thought are kind of like must read, or we feel are must read for us, and we want to share it with the world.
And I just heard that they were good because I never read.
Yeah. So as Vic goes, he doesn't know what's going on. So we're gonna make each one of us read the other. We're gonna pick one. We're gonna spin the wheel, make the deal, and then we're gonna pick that one, and we're all gonna read it.
Yep.
We're all gonna do it. And some of mine are long in the tooth. So I know. Here we go. This is gonna be interesting. I know I picked Crisis, which is 12 issues. No spin-off, no crossovers, just the 12. And I feel that you can read it and still understand it, especially with the days forcing of the multiverse down our throats. Hey, this isn't the Supergirl, but it is a Supergirl, so watch her die, I picked Wonder Woman Dead Earth because I love this book, and I've been yelling about it ever since it came out. I love it, and I want you guys to finally read it and shut up about it. And then the other one's the Golden Age. I think I have the Golden Age. JSA Golden Age book. I've loved it. It's basically Watchmen and the Manchurian Candidate, but characters that need love,
Mm-hmm.
They need those love, and they got it, and it's pretty interesting. And then finally, the one that made Jamie Plots was Captain America No More. It is at least 19 to 20 issues long, but they're quick reads. It's where Steve Rogers is stripped. They say, hey, you're either working for the government or you can get the packing, pal. And he said, guess what? I'm going to get the Stephen. Have fun with that. And then that's when Johnny Walker comes in, the super pager. They replace him with that, and then you find out it's kind of like Clint Eastwood going, hey, you don't like me, bite me and go get Arnold Schwarzenegger or Jean-Claude Van Damme to put him in my role, type of thing. And then you're just like, oh wow, wait, what's going on? Maybe more like John Wayne, Arnold Schwarzenegger, even though I like Arnold Schwarzenegger. That's
So what if I told you I've read 3 of the 4 picks that you put up?
We're gonna have to read them again.
Well, I'm not saying I won't.
I know you read Crisis.
Which one didn't I read?
Wonder Woman Dead Earth.
Which one didn't I read, Al?
I think it's maybe Golden Age.
I haven't read Captain America No More.
Okay,
No.
there you go. I was gonna say that, but then I was like, well, he's got to have some street cred.
I figured that one was pretty modern, and he's never said a decent thing about a modern book since I've known him.
It's not modern.
Oh, it's not.
No, it's 80s. It's 80s.
Oh, okay. I'll just have to get was that a trade you have of it?
No, he's probably.
I think just find it on you're gonna have to find it on like
I'll be able to find
book
it.
site
I don't
because
know
it's.
more about that.
Oh, anyways, all right. Well, go ahead, Vic. Tell us about your floor.
Which ones are they?
You got the Marvel Superheroes Secret War.
Yeah, Marvel Superhero Secret War. Heard that's a pretty good one.
So
That's versus, man. Crisis versus Secret War right there.
So this is the original Secret War. Yeah.
I mean, I understand I'm not going to get that great dialogue between Samuel L. Jackson and Don Cheadle. That was the TV show, right?
Yeah. That's Secret Invasion.
Secret Invasion.
Holy cow! How many secrets does this group have?
A lot.
Well, how many Infinite Wars? How many Crisis does?
Well, okay,
yeah.
I was told by somebody that's one of their favorite storylines. So,
Ooh, I'm sorry.
I've heard about it.
And just to be clear, I had Crisis on Infinite Earths, not Crisis on Infinite Earth.
Craven's Last Hunt. I'm like, I've never read a Spider-Man story that wasn't Miles, so we'll give it a shot. Plus,
You've never read Last Hunt? I'm like,
I heard that was pretty good.
Yeah.
Is that a bad one too?
I'll reserve my opinion.
Then Black Panther, Enemy of the State. Yes.
Remind us, do you know who was the creative team on that?
Christopher Priest.
So that's the Chris Priest and Mark Teixeira.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. So it's the second half. The first half is I can't remember the first half, but it's like issues 6 through 12. It's a 12 issue. Those two trades, 6 issues each, I think.
Okay. So this is
But this is the one where he joins the Avengers because he doesn't trust them. I mean, tell you, I mean, I hope because I'm banking on Christopher Priest writing the story about a black person being involved with a white organization that you really can't trust fully, and that's what I'm banking on because I think it's an excellent perspective.
Okay,
but I could be wrong. And then Green Lantern, hard traveling heroes.
That in there?
I had to go with the great one from a great town. Had to pick something Denny O'Neil, and there you go. Because he's a St. Louis guy.
Or says I can't reread it.
Yeah.
Or it's by its never-ending appeal. I've heard criticism of it, but I'll be honest to say, let's see, Secret Wars, Craven's Last Hunt, Enemy of the State, and Hard Traveling Heroes. I've not read every issue of Hard Traveling Heroes. Other than that, I haven't read any. I've never read Marvel Secret War or Craven's Last Hunt.
Yeah, You've
never read Craven's Last Hunt?
No. And if it's issues 6 to 12 of that Black Panther run, I haven't read that. I've only read the first 5 or 6 issues, I think.
Oh, okay.
So, all right, then my choices were Marvels by Kurt Busiek and Alex Ross, Ronin by Frank Miller, New Teen Titans, the original Wolfman and Perez opening salvo. I think the volume 1 covers DC Comics Presents 26 plus the first 5 or 6 issues, I think, of that run, maybe 7. And then Weapon X by Barry Windsor Smith, which is
you're talking about a dense. If you can read Weapon X, then you can read any of my books. Like, is it like Weapon X? Oh, okay, yeah, sure, that's great. I like these choices. I'm hoping that mine get picked because
I think we've got both a wide range of approaches, especially on the superhero side. We got a little bit of, I mean, Ronin doesn't quite fit into that genre, but I dare to say that Earth doesn't really either.
When I was picking my choices, like I need to put some indie in here because if I don't, then Gore's gonna see it and be like, "This is for children," and I didn't. I'm still a child, so I just went with stuff that stuck with me.
Yep.
That's what I'm going with.
Hey, I try hard to find a bone series to use.
I bet you did. I put in stuff that I'm genuinely interested in rereading, stuff that I haven't visited in a long time, and I think they're worthwhile talking about too. All right, so
Yeah.
how usually people don't accept the first spin, so we got to spin it a few times. How many spins should we do?
I mean, there's 3 of us.
3 spins.
We each get a spin, and then we get a spin together.
So you're saying I'm going 4, or
4 spins.
all right, 4 spins.
All
All right.
Spin it for me.
First spin is
Ronan.
not Ronan this time. Second spin, Weapon X. I have a bad feeling about this. Third spin, Hard Traveling
Green
Heroes.
Lantern Hard Traveling Heroes.
All right, so
All right, this is it.
This is it. It's gonna be
Sticking
out.
with it.
All right.
Oh. Well, there you go. 5 spins.
Weapon X doesn't sound fun.
It's a Wolverine story. It's Wolverine's kind of
Human killers.
it's origin stories you really want to get with Wolverine.
Hey, you want to watch Wolverine run around naked for a while? It's pretty fun.
Didn't we see? No, that was Old Man Logan.
See. Okay, so we're doing this. There's no backing out. I'm gonna swallow that chunk of.
So the way
The art's fantastic.
the way we'll do this is we'll back out my picks for the next one, so we make sure that over the next 3 times we do this, each of us gets something picked.
Well, I would like to suggest.
Okay.
I want to do character, like okay, we get Batman, and then we each bring storylines for that, and then we talk about his. I mean, because how many we could be here all day, like, oh well, it's this guy's turn, this guy. If we do 1 episode per just the character, then we could bring it, just talk about the storyline.
Well, how would we put in Crisis at Infinite Earths under that kind of character? How would
I was doing this off of like you doing all these like, oh, it's just storylines. I wouldn't fit in. I'm talking personal, like if you got like Moon Knight, what are his best storylines, his must-read storylines, and then we could pick out of those which one we're gonna review. That's what I wanted to do with that, but that was the idea. And this is fun though.
Yeah, we'll do this and we'll change it up. It's going to be I don't want to say it's going to be a long year, no, but we're just getting started. So,
well, I want to do Hawkman, so we got. I think this has the best Hawkman story in it, actually. So
interesting. I don't want to say I'm disappointed in winning because I like the challenge of reading something else somebody else wants to. So, but.
I don't want to say that I'm disappointed in winning, but I'm disappointed.
Well, I couldn't have, we're going to do this, but I'm going to pull my picks out to make sure that one of my buddies wins.
All I'm saying is, look, Barry Windsor Smith.
Show him the side view so he sees how thick that book is.
Oh, wow. That's probably how thick Weapon X would be.
No, it's not. Weapon X is only 8 pages per issue.
It's only 5 issues.
It's a trade.
Oh. All right. Well, that'd be better. I don't have to relive that trauma.
But look,
I'm a sore loser. I'm just going to say it now. Well, yeah, I'm not. We collectively, I don't think I've read too many Moon Knight storylines. He's always been one of those characters been in the background for me. But I mean, just like like Hellboy or Rocketeer or anything, any character. We'll just do the character. Like Spider-Man, must-read Spider-Man issue storylines, because I think that we go for, like with Batman, you go, oh, Killing Joke, Dark Knight Returns. No, I want us to do the best storylines in his, like either Batman, Shadow of the Bat, Dark Detective Comics. That's what I'm talking.
Within
graphic novels are out.
Within the context of his one of the regular ongoing series.
Right.
Gotcha.
It could be that Superman. You
would call
Superman, and that's why I did the Captain America No More, because that would be something that would be great for even talk about for that character.
I mean, we had plenty of those in this mix. So,
hey, but more importantly, we got one other thing to talk about. I mean, what's it called? What Kroll took over Jamie and had him buy 4 Funko Pops?
Oh,
is that right, Kroll?
Scroll,
man.
What Scroll?
The Crow took over. James O'Barr's Crow took over.
Hey,
you were mentioning it.
I'm trying.
For the longest time.
I don't think you're trying at all. I think this is the one thing about Vic. Is like we'll sit here and pump him full of freaking all this information, and then the next minute he's like, what is that again? Like, who is Batman? What is that? Is it what?
Saying the long hush.
Yeah, he said the Halloween hush Halloween.
It was a long hush, but yeah.
But hush, what you couldn't include hush. That's what I'm saying. I'm not talking about. I don't want.
Hush was in the regular Batman title.
Oh, I meant How Long Halloween. Sorry.
Right. Yeah.
Even though it's like that blocks out most of the Superman things, I would say, like Superman for All Seasons, All-Star Superman. That's cut out,
Yep.
And then, of course, my favorite, Wonder Woman Dead Earth would be cut out too. But what are you gonna do?
I gotta check and see if I still got that.
It's fun.
Wonder Woman.
So yeah,
but
for the longest time, I've had like my one and only Pop sitting next to me, which
Mr. Pop
had given me for winning one of our little contest things here on the channel.
Wait a second.
Mm-hmm.
I gave him a Pop. He gave it away. He sold it. I'm just saying.
I didn't sell it, but it's in my stuff of, hey, if somebody wants to buy this for money, they can have it.
Yeah. Yeah, I gave him one, but mine isn't good enough to be put on display because he's a black guy.
I hope that my choice of the Pops I did buy shows that I'm colorblind.
Oh boy, here we go.
I took my crew out on a store check at Target yesterday, and I found 4 Pops that I couldn't live without bringing back home. And here they are.
Oh,
make yourself big.
There we go. Huh. So they're bitty Pops, and they're like probably an inch tall.
Oh boy!
Got some of my favorite characters in there: Han Solo, Chewbacca, and of course Greedo. So who's in the mystery spot there? The world will never know.
You're not gonna open it?
Heck no! It's just gonna go.
Well, here's the thing: they're not they're Pops, but the box is actually plastic too. So
yeah, and it's the whole miniature thing that really.
You only got one?
Caught my eye. Yeah, I mean they have looks like an assortment of 4. I think that each case had an assortment of 2 because I only saw like these 2 assortments. It was these guys and the Stormtrooper and Darth Vader.
That's what I picked up recently. Moon Knight.
I like a purple cover too.
Moon Knight #1. Ain't mad at that.
Ooh.
Is it backwards for you?
It is, but we'll live with it.
Night Moon. Hey, the Pop that I picked up recently, there's 2 of them. There's the superhero from Schoolhouse Rock, and then one that I knew you probably wouldn't want to ever see. It's the Captain Action Pop. Yeah. I was like, I love Cats in Action, but I know Jamie's not a huge fan of that.
You get too close to the sun, your wings will melt, and I got too close to that sun.
Don't meet your heroes, huh?
Yeah.
Yeah, I picked this up. I paid too much for it, but
That's a book that shot up right before the TV show came on, and then everybody was disappointed of it, and it dropped like a rock. But of course, that was different. That was during the COVID surge too, or COVID bubble.
Everybody's disappointed in what?
Yeah, here's the thing about it. People are always disappointed.
I liked it.
Yeah, it was fun. Here's the thing. That's one thing I know. I X, Twitter, whatever it's called. I really can't, because I can't get on there. It's like if I want to just inject hate into my veins, I go on there. It's like nobody can make up their mind what they like, and everybody craps on everything, and it's just like what?
It's social then.
Stop it. I don't even have an X account. I've never been on Twitter.
Even on Facebook, anything. People are just. It's like it's first name. It's not second nature. It's first nature. They're just like, oh, it's up. It's like, look at this burning beautiful thing. I was like, oh, I puke. I want puke on it. Yeah. Oh my god, it's so gross. You know.
The reason you like the Moon Knight TV show is because you've never read a Moon Knight comic.
Oh, okay.
I mean,
nobody has.
Even if I'd never read a Moon Knight comic, I would not have liked that show.
You like my backdrop? I put it up just for you guys.
I do. It looks good.
I do. It's nice.
It was my convention backdrop, which I don't use anymore because I don't do conventions.
Oh, well. Looks good, though. Makes a good background.
Even though it's backwards.
Better than my...
Thank you, Magic.
Better than my crappy Kirby 70's books back there.
No, I like that. I'll trade you.
6 off your hands.
I'll trade you everything. You can have everything behind me for everything I see back there.
All right, I think we're ready to wrap this one up.
Yeah.
Any last parting words, guys?
Kirby in the 70s is some of the best stuff he's ever done. Meh.
I don't know. Those cartoons in the 80s kind of rocked.
Which cartoons?
I don't know.
The cartoons that Kirby worked on are better than his 70s comic book work. Is that what you're saying?
I have no idea.
I know.
I've only read his comic book work, and it's...
Good show.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you. I appreciate it.
Before we got to stay here, that's why, Alan, I use a flip phone for YouTube. I use my laptop, but once I close it, I do so to social media as well. You know, my social media footprint's getting smaller and smaller too.
Oh, it's so negative. That's why I come on here, and if you say, oh well, about this thing, I'm like, yeah, someone loves it. I try not to even, I mean, I'm a wrestling fan, and wrestling fans just hate wrestling. What's this? Once, see, he was never the same.
Jackson,
hey,
you got to go back and rewatch the whole thing. That was pretty much the whole discussion.
I think he's got even better.
He went to DC and turned on the Kirby fire hose. That's what happened.
Here, I'm thinking this is coming from. I mean, I'm not comparing myself to Kirby or whatever, but I understand when you're like, man, you know what? You get cabin fever, even with art, even with creating. You get tired of doing the same stuff.
Mm-hmm.
You want to just like, let's take the brakes off this SOB and let's drive it downhill.
Yep.
Let's see what happens. It was creative genius. He was feeling himself, man. That is just that's open. He just said, and it came out. So if you can't appreciate that, that's you. You're kind of like, stay in this box that you love, and then let's do it.
Yep.
Okay, so that's me. Is that what you're saying? No.
No, you're willing to look outside your box.
No, to me, like, that's kind of like throwing him under the bus. That's like a guy going out and like, hey, I'm getting out of the bus, and then you get the driver's seat. I'm going to run you over with it because you shouldn't have got out of this bus. That's Like, no, he got out of the butt. He was brave enough to do stuff that most of us wouldn't even. It's like having an idea, having an opinion, but everybody else is saying, no, it's got to be this way. And then you're like, actually, and then you get murdered for it. Well, once you say it should be different, or there's room for it to be different, then you get killed. Kirby, artistically, his 70s stuff, beautiful. I mean, the idea, it was, to me, it was a masterpiece.
All right.
Jackson,
what was out there was garbage. Man, well, that's your opinion, pal. You want to say? Like I was just saying, people come out and just the crap on stuff. That's your first experience. That's your first thought of it. Then that's you, pal.
That's right. We all have our favorites, and we don't have to agree. But
no, we do.
Be on the lookout for another upcoming episode where
we'll be. It's cool, Jackson.
We'll be reviewing Weapon X by Barry Windsor Smith at some point soon. Victor and I started a review of Stray Bullets. I almost screwed that. 100 Bullets. We covered the first 7 issues. We knew Al wasn't into it, so I
wasn't asked.
Well, every time I mention 100 Bullets, like your eyeballs roll to the back of your head. So I figured
I gotta find it on my own. That's one of those things. I think if you would have put that on the wheel, and it would pick, I would have read it. I would have done it. Right. I would have gave it. I didn't look. I'm not
on the wheel. You would really hate it because we only read like 7 issues at a time. You're like, what was the point of this? What was the point of that?
I mean,
because it's all foundation for like the first 50 issues, I guess.
I'm all about foundation. I watch a lot of shows that. Movies that are like all foundation, then they don't get to the point most of the time.
Yeah.
What, Jamie? Jamie's like, Vic don't like it.
I do like it. I do like it. I mean, I do like it. I just wanted to get somewhere. And we are starting to get somewhere now.
It'll start picking up steam soon.
Yeah.
But man, is it sad.
That's the one thing. Like
America's a messed up place.
When I was a younger, I loved just depressing stuff. But now I like, oh man, that's just let's balls to the wall, man. Let's have some fun. Which I can read and write some depressing stuff too, but it gets you down. It starts making you feel like you're in The Shining. Where you're just trapped in a room, trapped in a hotel with these people you can't stand.
Well, before our audience can't stand us any longer, we'll sign off on this one. Thanks for joining us, guys. Thanks to Jackson Roy Kirk, Gore Vidal, Magic Lasso. We had Biggie Shack stop in earlier. And just appreciate everybody that checked us out. If you got any comments, be sure to leave them there. So we can pick up on what you're laying down, and we'll see you next time. Remember, keep your priorities straight: faith, family, comic books. We'll see you next time.